Hello everyone, I'm Yazan Ibrahim, or as some of you might know me, yazan.abogosh. Today we're going to dive into a fascinating and essential topic, Fraud Examiners Section 1, Financial Transactions and Fraud Schemes. Welcome to today's deep dive into the world of fraud, where we'll explore the computer and internet fraud, computer hacking, malware, email, internet fraud, electronic commerce and information security, insider threats, computer security. Whether you're an aspiring fraud investigator, a business owner, or simply curious about how organizations manage their finances, or if you are auditor, this journey will shed light on the often complex systems that drive decision making. Imagine a bustling office late at night. The building hums with the faint buzz of computers, and scattered papers rest on empty desks. Unbeknownst to the staff, a small, inconspicuous device sits hidden in plain sight, disguised among the myriad cables and connectors attached to the computers. This is a hardware keylogger, an unassuming tool capable of intercepting every keystroke made on a keyboard, sending sensitive usernames, passwords, and personal information to an attacker. This scenario exemplifies a wider realm of threats known as cyber attacks, where seemingly invisible adversaries exploit vulnerabilities to infiltrate systems. Such attacks come in many forms, from hardware-based threats like our keylogger to software-based methods, and even psychological tactics aimed at the most vulnerable component in any network, its users. In the modern digital battleground, malicious actors deploy an arsenal of techniques to compromise systems. Remote access Trojans, or rats for instance, function like Trojan horses from Greek mythology, sneaking unseen into systems under the guise of something innocuous, perhaps an email attachment labeled "Happy Birthday Card." Once inside, the attacker gains full control, spying on files, capturing passwords, or even using the compromised computer as a weapon in broader attacks. It's like handing the keys to your digital life to a stranger, unknowingly and with devastating consequences. Another method, packet sniffing, focuses on intercepting data as it travels across networks. Picture this. When you send a message over the internet, it doesn't travel directly from your computer to the recipient like a sealed letter. Instead, it hops through several nodes along the way. In a packet sniffing attack, a malicious program taps into these data streams, capturing critical information like usernames and passwords right as they pass. It's akin to someone secretly reading your postcards in transit before they reach your friend. But not all threats revolve around technology. Some take advantage of human behavior, such as shoulder surfing. Ever walked into a coffee shop and noticed someone craning their neck to glance at a stranger's laptop screen? While it might seem like simple curiosity, this can rapidly escalate into snooping for personal details like bank account logins or credit card numbers. Similarly, dumpster diving, a practice that involves digging through discarded workplace materials, can yield forgotten gems like printed passwords, sensitive documents, or old storage devices still brimming with retrievable data. It's a harsh reminder that securing your workspace isn't just about strong passwords, it's about vigilance in every detail. In some cases, attackers don't stop at observation, they prey on trust. Imagine being stopped outside a secure office building by someone who smiles and claims, "Oh no, I've forgotten my badge. Mind if I follow you inside?" That's physical piggybacking, a method of infiltrating restricted spaces by exploiting another person's legitimate access. From leveraging crowds to sneak into restricted areas to lingering near an active computer session, this type of deception depends on exploiting human error or kindness. A similar principle applies in electronic piggybacking, where attackers exploit sessions that remain open or unattended. Let's explore further and consider data at its most vulnerable, stored on discarded or sold media drives. A criminal might buy secondhand hard drives or printers and discover vast troves of unprotected data left behind, client records, financial spreadsheets, or even private health data. Because data is never truly deleted until it's overwritten, even erased files can often be resurrected using recovery tools. This is why experts advise securely scrubbing drives before disposal. In the digital realm, attackers often don't just steal, they manipulate. A tactic called data diddling, or fraud by input manipulation, is a prime example. This attack involves deliberately altering input data at its entry stage in seemingly minor ways. Take a payroll system. If someone adjusted overtime hours slightly but frequently to funnel unearned money into a hidden account, they could steal significant sums without drawing much attention. Speaking of subtlety, let's dive into the salami technique. Think of a loaf of bread sliced so thinly that no individual slice is noticeable. This is how fraudsters steal fractions of money, often from multiple transaction systems, accumulating vast amounts over time. It's a slow bleed that often escapes detection because it's designed to appear insignificant. On the more destructive side of attacks, we find buffer overflow exploits. Now, stay with me here. Imagine a water tank that's designed for a set capacity, but suddenly receives too much water. It overflows, spilling into unintended areas. This is what occurs when attackers overload a computer memory buffer with data beyond its limit, forcing the overflow into adjacent memory spaces that the attacker can control. Once they assume control, the damage can range from crashing software to hijacking the system altogether. All these techniques showcase the creativity and adaptability of malicious actors, but perhaps nothing better illustrates the evolving nature of cyber threats than the shift from HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, to HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. HTTP, while groundbreaking at its inception, left doors wide open for exploits, from web server attacks to data interception. HTTPS revolutionized security by encrypting communication, making it infinitely harder for attackers to access or manipulate web traffic. Yet, despite its strengths, many websites still function on HTTP, rendering them easy targets. Essentially, cybersecurity isn't about a single fix or technology. It's a continuous, evolving dance between those seeking to protect data and those aiming to exploit it. From malicious software to human vulnerabilities, every corner of the digital and physical workspace has potential risks. Some visible, some hidden, but all crucial to confront with awareness and preparation. The Internet of Things, IoT, represents a transformative shift in technology where everyday objects are embedded with sensors that allow them to collect and transmit data through the Internet. To imagine its potential, think of an ecosystem of devices seamlessly communicating, your fitness tracker monitoring your health and coaching you, or smart parking systems optimizing your daily commutes. IoT, at its core, strives to solve problems, optimize existing processes, and enhance personalized experiences in ways we couldn't have dreamed of before. For instance, wearable fitness devices not only count steps, but could become diagnostic tools, detecting irregularities in heart rates or other vital signs, and alerting both you and your doctor in real time. Picture home automation products working intuitively, adjusting lighting, temperature, and security systems based on your habits, essentially creating a home that thinks with you. Innovation here knows no bounds. Growth is exponential. However, alongside this innovation, looming issues highlight why IoT's promise comes with cautionary tales. Despite their brilliance, most IoT devices are developed prioritizing design and utility instead of robust security measures. This lack of attention to cybersecurity creates vulnerabilities. For example, imagine a home full of smart devices. If one device lacks updates and becomes compromised, it could become the weakest link in exposing personal data, or worse, enabling unauthorized network access. Fraud becomes easier when manufacturers fail to update insecure IoT devices rapidly after detecting flaws, leaving them prime targets for malicious actors. These vulnerabilities aren't small considerations, as IoT devices often store vast amounts of sensitive data. Think about the surveillance cameras monitoring your home. The same technology keeping you safe might also capture information that could fall into the hands of cyber criminals. Without appropriate safeguards and secure protocols in development, IoT systems could inadvertently invite privacy violations. Shifting gears to a broader and interconnected topic, malicious software or malware. IoT vulnerabilities can become fertile ground for exploitation by these threats. Malware, a collective term for destructive software like viruses, worms, spyware, and ransomware, jeopardizes not only IoT devices but all computer systems it infiltrates. Through seemingly innocent carriers like email attachments or free software downloads, malware sneaks past defenses, installing itself and often spreading unnoticed. Now consider the workings of viruses in depth. Much like biological viruses, computer viruses replicate and infect hosts, modifying programs and spreading across systems in dormancy or when triggered by specific conditions. Viruses evolve in phases, starting as dormant code until activated. Take, for example, a program that begins corrupting files only on certain dates, This delayed triggering ensures it remains hidden, wreaking havoc only when it's too late to trace the source effectively. The damage that viruses cause spans multiple layers. Specific types of malicious programs take unique approaches to cripple systems. Multipartite viruses, for instance, employ multiple methods for infection, ensuring redundancy and spreading more efficiently. Then there are boot sector viruses that embed malicious code directly into essential operating sectors of storage drives, making elimination especially tricky. They exploit a system's core instructions that execute each time it starts up. Some viruses, like stealth viruses, evade antivirus detection by erasing traces of their code on infected files or encrypting their payload during execution. Meanwhile, companion viruses insinuate themselves alongside legitimate programs, tricking users into executing the malicious code instead. And let's not overlook polymorphic viruses. They evolve themselves like digital shapeshifters, continuously altering their structure to avoid recognition by antivirus software. Yet malware's story grows darker when we turn to worms, which, unlike viruses, self-replicate without the need for a host program. Visualize a worm burrowing through networks, using email or chat systems to transfer itself and potentially unleash greater damage, such as overloading systems or planting backdoors for malicious actions. Think of Middoom, an infamous worm from 2004. It spread so rapidly via email that it slowed down the entire internet during its peak. Such worms target networks, flooding communication channels with copies of themselves that can paralyze operations entirely. IoT expands the complexity of combating these threats. Devices within this interconnected web act as new entry points where malware can gain footholds. Devices containing practical, seamless enhancements to everyday life can, if unsecured, become the very tools hackers use to harm users. The world of IoT and cybersecurity is kindling vast ingenuity, but requires us to balance innovation with a proactive stance on security. As these technologies grow in sophistication and prevalence, developers must commit to embedding secure by design approaches into every level, because with each advance, risks evolve too. And we think about security, whether for a building, a network, or even sensitive information, it often starts with a simple concept: control. Think of it as a vast web of carefully designed measures that protect people, systems, and assets from harm. Today, we'll embark on a journey to understand the layered world of security controls, from the locks on your office doors to the invisible algorithms safeguarding data in cyberspace. Physical security, the first line of defense. Imagine walking into a building surrounded by high fences, security cameras, and state-of-the-art doors with electronic keypads. These are physical access controls, our first line of defense against unauthorized entry. Physical controls serve as gatekeepers to buildings, data centers, and restricted areas. At its simplest, physical security might involve locks and keys, a time-tested symbol of access control. While easy to implement and cost-effective, the old-fashioned lock comes with its flaws. Keys can be lost, duplicated, or even stolen. To solve this, many organizations adopt cipher locks, where a code replaces a physical key. But here's the catch. Just as passwords can leak, so can lock combinations. Regularly updating codes, particularly after stuff changes, is critical for maintaining security. For the tech-savvy, electronic access cards bring both convenience and control. These cards interact with sensors to grant or restrict entry. Want to know who's been where at what time? These systems can even provide audit trails to aid investigations. But like physical keys, these cards have their pitfalls. They can be stolen, cloned, or misused through techniques like piggybacking, where someone sneaks in right behind an authorized user. Now, imagine a world straight out of science fiction. You wave your hand or look into a scanner, and Viola, the door opens. Welcome to the world of biometric systems, which use unique physiological traits like fingerprints or retina patterns to verify identity. Biometrics offer unparalleled precision and security, but they come with a hefty price tag and are often reserved for high security environments. Logical security, safeguarding the digital frontier. Now, picture another type of access control, one that doesn't guard physical doors, but instead controls the flow of data on a network. This is logical access control, a digital gatekeeper ensuring only the right people access the right systems. The process begins with identification, providing a unique username or ID that identifies who you are. Then comes authentication, which asks, are you really who you claim to be? The answers can take three forms. Something you know, like a password. Something you have, like an electronic card. Something you are, like biometric data. Using just one of these methods may suffice for basic systems, but for critical applications, multi-factor authentication is king. Combine a password with a fingerprint scan and suddenly cracking the system becomes exponentially harder. Lastly, there's authorization. Even if someone gains access to a network, what they can see or do depends on permissions granted to their account. A manager, for instance, might have access to strategic reports, while a clerk might only see transactional data. This strict tiering minimizes the damage from leaks or breaches. Technical and administrative controls, a coordinated defense. To tie it all together, organizations also rely on technical controls, the nuts and bolts embedded in software and hardware to fortify systems. Think encryption, firewalls, and intrusion detection systems. Just as critical, though, are administrative controls, policies, and procedures that ensure everything runs smoothly. Examples include training employees to recognize phishing scams or scheduling regular audits to spot vulnerabilities. Together, these controls form a layered defense, like the rings of a fortress, each serving a unique purpose. By weaving physical, logical, and administrative controls into a cohesive strategy, organizations create a secure environment where access is granted only when it's absolutely deserved. And as threats evolve, so too must these controls, ensuring security stays one step ahead. Equal sign, equal sign. Let's delve into the subject of network security with an engaging narrative that unravels its intricacies while making it accessible and captivating. Picture a corporate network as a bustling city, with avenues of data and traffic flowing between its various districts. Just as a city requires robust mechanisms to protect itself from intruders, ensure internal order, and maintain its integrity, so does a network require sophisticated security measures to fend off threats and operate smoothly. At the heart of network security lies the concept of securing the network perimeter. This perimeter acts much like the city walls of medieval times, safeguarding the internal network from unauthorized access. But relying solely on a strong perimeter is not enough. Imagine if the city let in trusted visitors yet placed no restrictions once they entered. Sensitive areas like research labs or development zones could become vulnerable. This is why internal network segmentation, dividing the infrastructure into isolated zones based on risk, is critical. For instance, a research and development department housing groundbreaking innovations should be shielded from general traffic. Key defenses form the first line of protection, starting with firewalls. Think of firewalls as vigilant customs officers at the edges of a network. They inspect every packet of data that enters or exits, scrutinizing its origin, destination, and content, and decide who gets a pass. This ensures that only authorized data, akin to valid visas, can cross the network borders. An optimal policy for a firewall is stringent, allowing only explicitly permitted traffic. However, a firewall alone is like a lone guard. It needs teamwork to be truly formidable. Enter intrusion detection systems, IDSs, akin to watchful sentinels patrolling the streets. These systems monitor network activity, alerting administrators to suspicious behavior, like a series of failed login attempts, similar to a thief repeatedly trying to pick a lock. While IDS are reactive, responding after potential malicious actions, their proactive companions are intrusion prevention systems, IPS. Think of an IPS as a gatekeeper, intercepting and stopping an intruder before they even set foot in the city. Together, IDSs and IPSs form a dynamic duo, equal parts detective and protector. Beyond securing the external and internal flows of traffic, network access control steps in as a sophisticated bouncer, deciding who gets in and where they can go. For instance, an employee in accounts payable will have access only to financial records, while a visitor might be restricted to public internet access. Access also depends on the user's system's security posture. If their software is outdated or lacks essential protections, they're placed in a virtual quarantine until their vulnerabilities are resolved. This ensures visitors don't inadvertently introduce threats, similar to how travelers from high-risk zones might undergo health screenings before mingling with the population. Beyond network protections, operating system security is vital. Consider it the foundation of a skyscraper. Without a sturdy, reinforced base, the entire structure is at risk. A secure operating system undergoes hardening, a process likened to fortifying a fortress. Out-of-the-box systems often come bloated with vulnerabilities. By stripping non-essential tools, enabling security features, and applying patches to fix discovered openings, administrators build a robust defense. Patch management, much like filling in cracks on a dam, ensures these vulnerabilities are closed in a timely manner to prevent breaches. Encryption acts as the ultimate safeguard for communication. Imagine you are sending a top secret letter. Without encryption, it's written plainly, readable by anyone who intercepts it. With encryption, it becomes locked in a coded language, decipherable only by someone holding the key. The challenge lies in managing these keys efficiently and balancing security with speed, as encryption introduces processing delays. Still, its power in guarding sensitive data from prying eyes is unmatched. Then there's the human element, ensuring separation of duties within an organization. In a city, you wouldn't have one individual control all critical systems, power, law enforcement, and finances. Similarly, in network security, responsibilities are distributed to minimize risk. Programmers shouldn't test or deploy their code unsupervised, just like auditors shouldn't directly manipulate the financial statements they review. With proper checks and balances, security becomes a shared responsibility, reducing the chances of misuse or insider threats. Lastly, a city's maintenance and ongoing assessments ensure its prosperity. So too must a network be actively monitored and audited to identify weaknesses and improve defenses over time. Logs of network activity akin to surveillance footage are essential. These logs help analyze events, trace incidents, and detect trends, enabling administrators to respond swiftly to vulnerabilities. Security systems must also undergo routine penetration testing, simulating attacks to discover weak points before actual intruders do. In a well-secured network, every component plays its role, from firewalls and encryption to proactive systems and vigilant administrators. Together, they create a harmonious and resilient infrastructure, one that thrives under the constant watchful eyes of its guardians. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning. Stay curious, and we'll see you next video.